Hi guys, this is Larissa with Be You Beautiful One. Welcome to my channel. I am so glad that you are here. I'm excited to share with you a how-to video, one that I feel is of great importance if you're in the planning community and you're trying to customize your planners by using digital printouts. And so this is more about what do you do once you have your printables printed, okay? And how to cut them out to fit the size of your planner. So the easy part is that you could go online and purchase files for your particular size planner, whether it's disc bound or ring bound planner, or you could create your own. This particular one is sized for a Happy Planner Classic 7 by 9.25 inches. Downloaded to my computer with the crop marks in the download, because I could download it without the crop marks, but then I wouldn't know exactly where to cut. I could take like a Happy Planner page and put it on here and try to cut it out. I've done that before. I don't like that because I got to make for sure it's perfectly centered and so forth. So I like to use crop marks. And these items here are the crop marks. And I'm going to highlight it so that you can see it better. So this is a crop mark right here, okay? This is telling me this is where I need to cut, as well as this one, and this one. So it's just giving me a guide on where I need to cut using my cutting board. And so basically, these lines give me my vertical cut and my horizontal cut, and they should match up with the line on this side. When I've cut out all other sides, this should be equal to the size of an insert for my Happy Planner Classic planner, okay, or the sizing of a Happy Planner Classic. So let me go ahead and show you how to do this. I'm going to use this little highlighted one first. And again, you can print without the crop marks. You could simply place, if you have a file without the crop marks, you could place your insert if you have one already and use that as a guide as to where to cut. I didn't like doing that. I have to make for sure everything is centered, and so I prefer using crop marks, okay? And now I have my cutting board. I've had this one for several years, but you can find this online or at any of your craft stores. I prefer this method. I feel like I have more control. Now, I will be honest with you, I need to change my blade. And so I won't have the smoothest cut, but that's fine because it's for my personal planner. So I will be going out into the Wow retail environment to go get me one, or I'll find it online to have it sent to me. But for today, I'm just going to use what I have. You'll still get the point. Okay, so for my particular, I'm going to move this over. For my particular cutting board, which is a Fiskar cutting board, and it has an extender arm, okay? My blade is in this orange little thing that comes out. I just pulled it out. Oh, there. Oh, good grief. I've never did that before. Okay, hopefully I can get it popped back in here. Yep, okay. So and you have to know your equipment. So it may take you a little bit of time to get used to it, but always start out with the idea of just practicing first. But this little thing is my blade here. So it doesn't cover the whole entire width or length of this little doohickey here that guides my blade along the cutter. Okay, for me, this is where this is like a little groove where the blade will guide itself along to make those cuts. And so I basically line up the lines. I'm going to start vertically so that where the groove is where my lines are. And I'm also using this little gauge thing that is on the top part of my cutting board. It's like a thin piece of wire. And so if I can't really tell with this, like seeing past the paper, I could use that little wire thing as a guide too. And which is for the most part what I will be doing. Okay, let me put it back on here. And so I want to try to get the lines to go under that wire as much as possible. And sometimes that means I might have to adjust this so that my paper fits nicely along this extension part here, because I have a guide here. I have a guide here for where my paper should align to. And then the trick of this is that I only want to cut from this line to this line. If I cut all the way down, it will sort of mess up or make it harder for me to cut the rest of the page out. So I try to cut from here to here. And then when I do horizontal, for the horizontal cut, I'm going to try to cut here and here, which is why I like this particular cutting board better, because I not only can see from, if I angle my eyes, I can see where the vertical line is, but I could also see the horizontal guide for the crop marks too here on the side. And so I'm just going to cut up to that and then cut back down to the lower guide mark, which is the crop marks, okay? And so now I have a cut in my sheet, but the whole thing is not cut off. And the reason why that's important is because now I want to have this guide so that I could cut horizontally across my page. If I cut all the way down, I lose this guide here on the side. So now I'm going to turn my page horizontally, and I'm going to do the same thing over again. So by preserving this guide, I'm also preserving the other vertical guide that I could use as well. So let's do it on this side. I'm going to line up according to my guide. And again, all cutting boards are different. I have a our memory cutting board, and I still prefer this one because that one is a little bit more sophisticated. This is the first one that I use really a lot, so I'm more comfortable with this. So you'll have to find what you're comfortable with. Some people are great with cutting boards, but they do it all the time, like the ones where you slice down. I have one of those too, and I've done it with that as well, but then I'm more prone to lose my crop marks as I'm cutting things off. So I just prefer using this, and I can see what I am doing. And they also have good sales on this one too. You could get this online or at any craft store. So here it is again. I now have flipped. So now I have one side vertically and one side horizontally. And so I only have that part out. And so now I'm going to go back to the vertical side. I'm going to line it up. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of it out. And again, just for purposes, I try not to still cut the whole thing out, although I have like a whole corner cut out. But I know that if I get too crazy with cutting blade, I might cut all the way off. I've done that before. Okay. And so here again, I'm going to line it up to the guide marks. And if you go a little bit past your guide marks, it's okay. You just don't want to get all the way to the end. It just makes it a lot harder. And so now that I cut everything out, it's like a donut hole, but in a rectangle form. And now I have my insert cut out. Okay, so now I'm going, because of course I'm not going to use this with it all highlighted. So now I have some more over here. With this particular cutting board, I can usually get up to, with the dull blade that I have, I probably don't want to do more than 3 or 4. And this is 32 pounds, but I've also printed on a lot heavier, but things have been crazy. It's been with my printers, so it's been a lot easier for me to just use this for this purpose. And because it's notes, I am not too concerned about bleed through and so forth. But 32 pounds is still a good weight to use in general. Okay, so I have 3 pages that I'm gonna cut through. And so it's just important that everything is aligned with each other. And I'm going to follow the same technique here. Okay, good. And because my blade needs to be replaced, I'm just going to do it a couple of more times just to be on the safe side that everything has been cut through. So the heavier your paper weight, the less pages you may be able to do, depending on your cutter. And while I'm turning, I'm making for sure all my pages are lined up with each other. Okay. So that turned out pretty good. Okay, so that's, now I have 3 additional pages that I have printed out. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of these out. that time I did 4 sheets, and because my blade is dull, I probably needed to run it a couple more times because I cut 4 sheets that time. But that was my fault, and it was an easy fix though. Because I had the cut groove in there, I was just able to keep folding it really good, run my fingernail across the fold, and just go ahead and rip it off. So, because you take a risk of putting something back under the blade that's already been cut, and you might not get the same exact cut line. Okay, so let's do a quick review. Again, I'm using these crop marks, these little lines in the corners of my printable insert or my guides to where I cut. For this particular board, cutting board, I'm going to make sure that my guides are in alignment with the grooves of where my blade is going to cut. So it's important to get used to your particular board. I like to, once I put down my cutting guide, I like to have my cutting blade in the middle so that I can still see whether or not this little wire guide is in alignment with that. And I'll just make some slight adjustments there. I can also see my vertical guides right here. So I don't want to go past my vertical guide, and I want to be aware of my horizontal guide too, because that'll give me a notion of how far I need to cut up and down. And because I am using a blade that needs to be replaced, I'm making for sure that I go back and forth, that I cut through all the pages. Depending on how many pages you're cutting at one time, the more pages you are cutting, I recommend that you go back and forth with your cutting, just to make for sure you get through all the pages. But it will be a test and trial to learn how much pressure to put on your blade and how many pages you can cut without the issue of your blade not cutting all the way through. And so again, I am lining it up to the guide marks here to give me an idea of where to cut. And try not to cut all the way through. I was talking, so I cut all the way through. It's not so bad because I've already have this cut, but it just makes everything a little bit more flimsier, but it's okay. I still have everything intact where I need to still cut. So that's the good thing. So I have to make for sure I don't cut off any more by accident, because I like to have all of my guides in place. Okay. And when I have my blade in the middle of the page, it sort of gives me the ability to better see my guide marks. Now with this blade, I can pick it up and place it where I need to, but that just adds on to more time. Because I'm talking through it, I'm able to, it's taking me a while longer as I talk, but I could probably do all 30 pages probably within 15 minutes. getting them cut out and so forth. Okay. And so I cut out my last pages there. And you see me sort of checking. I think I pulled this off the printer and I got one page upside down. So I just want to make for sure all my pages are going the same way before I cut the holes in them. And with this particular note page, because the top part has a little bit more white space than the bottom part, that's how I know if it's going the same way or not. But that is everything cut out. Now I could take like, if I wanted to, I could take a cutting tool and round off the pages, but I probably won't because I'm doing a mixture of printables and pages that I'm actually getting from the Happy Planner. I'm going to mix them together, and I don't think Happy Planner rounds off their pages. So just for consistency purposes. But yeah, that is how I cut out my pages. So let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if this was helpful for you. I know that when I went to go look for how to cut out my printables, it was very hard for me to find a video that specifically talked about this. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know down in the comments below if you have any additional questions that I can answer for you. And now I'm about to go and punch holes into my pages so that I can put them in my planner. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and until the next time, bye-bye.